With officers laid off and furloughed, simply calling 911 and waiting is no longer your best option. You can beg for mercy from a violent criminal, hide under the bed, or you can fight back. But are you prepared? Consider taking a certified safety course in handling a firearm so you can defend yourself until we get there. You have a duty to protect yourself and your family. We're partners now. Can I count on you?
Certainly getting a lot of attention tonight. The new ad from Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke Jr. telling people to arm themselves and not wait for the police to respond. Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett calls his words irresponsible, and both now join me. Welcome to you both. Let me start with you, if I may, Sheriff Clarke. Very contentious, this commercial that you produced. Why did you do it?
Well, a number of factors led to this. There's an emerging situation in the Milwaukee area. Fewer and fewer law enforcement resources, and I'm not going to be afraid to engage the citizenry in eminent circumstances, not in all circumstances, and I gave examples in that ad to take their personal safety as an individual responsibility, and that there are certain things they can do when 911 is not available to them, and those are decisions that they have to make.
Mr. Mayor, you're the mayor of Milwaukee. You don't agree with him. Why?
Well, first, let me make it very, very clear that the sheriff is not the law enforcement officer that has jurisdiction over the Milwaukee Police Department. In fact, the Milwaukee Police Chief and I agree that if there's an emergency, that individuals should call 911. And the fact is that that ad implies that the sheriff and the sheriff's forces are going to come to residences when they call 911. That simply isn't true. The sheriff's department has jurisdiction over our freeways, over the airport, over the courts. But it's the police officers, not only in the city of Milwaukee, but in the 18 other municipalities that respond to these calls. And to have a sheriff basically imply that it's not going to help you to call 911, I think is irresponsible.
Yeah, I mean, Sheriff, you know, listening to the way that you phrased yourself in that ad, the kind of Hollywood voice you put on, the deep tones, making it all sound terribly exciting and dramatic, it sounded like some kind of John Wayne movie. How on earth does that kind of rhetoric to the American people serve any kind of sensible, rational purpose?
Well, first of all, I object to the Hollywood voice. This is the way I talk. This is my voice, and that ad was recorded at a studio. But let me get back more to your point. First of all, as it relates to the mayor is completely wrong. I'm the top law enforcement agency in Milwaukee County, and we are a full-fledged law enforcement agency, and we respond to everything. But that's not the point, because the citizens could care less what uniform the officer is wearing when, in fact, they call for the police. Now, the mayor submitted a budget this year that furloughs 1,500 police officers 3 days each. That's 4,500 fewer officer hours to be spent patrolling and responding to calls for service. My agency itself, the county, I had to lay off 42 officers last year. On top of that, there is a increasing demand of 911 calls for service that are going unanswered or in a delayed fashion, not through any fault of the street officer, but because of the fact that they don't have the proper amount of resources. Plus, they've been operating.
Let me ask you a question.
An amount of about 200 officers short.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
You just have fewer resources.
In your time as the sheriff, how many people in Milwaukee, to your certain knowledge, have defended themselves and their family at home by firing a firearm?
I don't have those statistics.
Well, give me a ballpark.
I don't think we need to go there, to be honest with you. The fact is,
well, you haven't got a clue.
Personal safety is an individual.
You haven't got a clue.
Well, wait a minute.
No, I won't wait a minute.
Sir,
you want to arm everybody in Milwaukee. You do these racy Hollywood-style adverts. You want them all out there armed and shooting. I'm told that at the weekend, a 36-year-old Milwaukee woman was approached by police after firing a gun in front of a neighborhood house when she heard a rowdy neighbor, and she explained herself by saying Sheriff David A. Clarke Jr., that's you, has said it was okay for her to arm herself. What you're creating is a return to the Wild West in Milwaukee.
I can answer the question.
So I think it's actually relevant that you don't actually have any idea how many people ever need to actually fire a firearm at home to defend themselves.
Are we going to have an honest exchange here, or are you just going to continue to talk over me?
I'm not sure how honest it can be if you haven't got a clue about any of the statistics involving people defending themselves with firearms at home in Milwaukee.
Well, again, first of all, personal safety is an individual responsibility. It's not up to me to decide who should or who should not own a firearm.
I'm not letting you get away with that. No.
If you go back to the
we will discuss it.
What
I did is
I gave people
let me,
involved in exigent circumstances.
You will not get away with that. I'm sorry.
Options.
It is not a personal issue.
One of them, I said, you can hide under the bed. I said, you can do a number of things, including taking a firearm safety course in the use and handling of a firearm. Those are responsible things to do, but Piers, those are choices that the individual has to make, not law enforcement, who may be minutes and miles away.
Well, we'll get the mayor's reaction. What I was going to say to you is, of course, it's not a personal choice when a sheriff in Milwaukee makes an advertisement directly telling the people in Milwaukee to go arm themselves. That becomes a law enforcement mission statement. Let's take a break. Let's come back and get the mayor's reaction. I'm back now with Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke and Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett. If you want to join the conversation, then tweet me at Piers Morgan. Mr. Mayor, look, I get frustrated with this because I don't think it's the job of a sheriff to be going on producing advertisements urging the public
let me make a couple of quick...
No, let me go to the mayor. To effectively be ignoring a first response call to the police. What is your reaction to what the sheriff was saying?
Let me make a couple of quick points. The sheriff talked about furloughs. We've talked to the police chief. The police chief has assured us that there will be absolutely no reduction in coverage as a result of the furloughs. We have 3 furlough days so that we can make a pension payment of $29 million for our police and have no layoffs. Second, the sheriff said that he can respond to all calls in Milwaukee County. He didn't say that he does respond to all calls. The calls, the 911 calls that come from residences in the city of Milwaukee are responded to by the Milwaukee Police Department. But let me tell you what's really going on here. What he doesn't want to do is he doesn't want to talk about the issues that are before the American people right now. You've had a long segment on what happened in Newtown. In Milwaukee, we've had similar incidents. And I'm going to talk about one in particular where we had an individual who had a restraining order against him because he could not, because of the threats he made to his wife. Once that restraining order was issued, he went out, posted on the internet, and bought a gun, went and killed her and 2 others in a spa. Now, I would not sell a gun to an individual who has a domestic violence order against him. I would not sell a gun to someone who has an involuntary mental judgment commitment. I would not sell a gun to someone who has a criminal record. And right now, he is defending laws that have a loophole that allow those individuals who have criminal records, mental health records that are involuntary or domestic violence orders to go buy guns on private sales. I need our sheriff to support the initiative that says that individuals who sell guns ensure that those guns are not being sold to criminals, they're not being sold to people who have domestic violence orders, and they're not being sold to people who have involuntary mental judgment commitments. And I need that because 40% of the sales are occurring outside of gun dealers.
Okay, well, Sheriff, what's your response? It all seems eminently reasonable.
Well, Mayor, that's easy to say. You have an armed security staff that follows you around that the average person doesn't have. Several summers ago, you were involved in an incident where a tire iron wielding suspect beat you within inches of your life. I'm sure that if you had a gun and a plan that day, the outcome would have been a little different. I'm asking, and the reason I raise that, I'm asking that law-abiding citizens, I'm asking that law-abiding citizens who make the decision that they see their personal security as their individual responsibility in a like situation can respond as they see fit. And that's an exigent situation. I, in no way, shape, or form, advocated for everybody to do that in every situation. I pointed out in exigent situations, when the wolf is at the door, when the intruder is inside your home.
Sheriff, do you support the background check?
I didn't interrupt you, Mary. I didn't interrupt you. Let me make my point. We have a burglary and a robbery problem going on in the city of Milwaukee. I live in the city of Milwaukee, by the way. And the response was what? That's been going on for quite some time. Some of those are home invasion robberies and home invasion burglaries. Recently this summer, we had a woman, actually last summer, a pregnant woman with her 15-year-old son. She was gunned down in a holdup on the street. That's one of those exigent situations where she couldn't call 911. We also had a grocery store owner who was shot and killed in a robbery attempt. He didn't get a chance to call 911. So what I'm asking...
let me ask you, Sheriff. Let me ask you, Sheriff, the question the mayor asked you very quickly. Yes or no? Do you support the idea of background checks for all gun trades?
What I support is a prosecutor's office and a judiciary that hammers the people who illegally use a firearm in the commission of a crime. I think we need to start by enforcing the laws that are on the books first before we start penalizing law-abiding citizens. Because I trust law-abiding citizens.
We'll have to leave it there. It was a simple question, and you couldn't answer it. We'll leave it there. Sheriff and Mr. Mayor, thank you both very much.
It might not be the answer that you wanted, but it was an answer.
Well, the answer is normally to the question I've posed, which was about background checks. You chose not to answer it. Anyway, next, did the NFL...